Tarpology, take two. This is technically it's a hexamid tarp. Normally we just have the center pole, but I opted to switch it up a bit and make a broad opening, or porch as it were. Space o' plenty. I'm gonna use the porch to make some lunch, and I'm gonna put my ground sheet down so I can sprawl. That's not too bad. Here's a glimmer at the backside. You can fold these under inside, or you can stake them down if it's really foul weather. So this is pretty groovy. I'm in the tarp tent, the hexamid config, and got my chair, just rocking away, watching the rain, listening to the rain. It's pretty groovy. There's a learning curve to setting these things up, and the only thing you can do is practice, practice, practice. And then when you're done with that, practice. So since there's nothing else to do but sit here and wait for it to stop raining, I thought I would share a few thoughts with you. A tarp versus a tent. I've always used a tent. I have a very nice tent. What is it? It's a Hubba NX, but it's a one-person tent. It's pretty small. And I remember once when I was riding up north, I got caught in a rainstorm and sat in that little tent for 14 hours waiting for the rain to stop. And it was cramped, and it was not pleasant. Plus there's the fact of most like freestanding tents, which mine is, I still have it, means that you have to pitch the inner tent first and then put the fly sheet over it. Now you can pitch the fly sheet first, but it's not a pleasant experience, and you end up getting soaked anyway. In the end, it's just a mess. Now I know there's a couple of tents out there like the 3FUL Lanshan is a good example. They have a Lanshan 1, Lanshan 2, one-person, two-person tents. And these you can pitch just the fly, easy. Actually, you can pitch the Hubba NX with the fly alone. But my solo tent, the footprint is so tiny, it's just absurd. So you really, if you're gonna pitch a fly by itself, you really realistically need a two-person tent. And that's why I'm looking at this whole tarp business, because this tarp is 10 feet by 10 feet, roughly 3 meters by 3 meters exactly. It's not the nicest tarp. It was the cheapest I could find, but I thought this is an experiment. If it works, I'll consider investing in a more expensive tarp, or invest in a tarp tent. I don't know. Just thinking out loud here, just rambling, babbling. Yeah, so here's another thought about the tarp experience. It involves a bit of thought and a bit of skill versus a tent. I've heard people complain about they didn't have instructions on how to put up their tent. My God, it's really not that complicated. Versus a tarp, there's so many different ways you can use it, employ it. You have to think about it. You got to think, what are the conditions I'm facing? And that is also the beauty, is it's adaptable to so many different circumstances. I think its weakest point from a camping perspective is that there's no bug netting that comes with it. Now, you can do one of two things, really, in that regard. You can buy a bug net, you know, or you can wear a bug net over your head, which really I always have one of those handy just because mosquitoes, I can't stand them in my face. That drives me nuts. But if they bite my arms, my legs, I could care less. That doesn't bother me. So in that respect, a lot of people, you know, maybe should just go to the Holiday Inn and forget about it because bugs are part of it. So, you know, I'm starting to think that this tarp thing really has huge potential that I've missed all these years. And, you know, they don't look very high tech. You know, they kind of have that hobo look, which was always something that I was trying to avoid on my bike trips. But I don't know. I was premature in my judgment, as I often am. There it is. Here's another really groovy thing you can do inside a tarp. I mean, obviously, there's plenty of open space here. The ceiling height is high enough that I can, you know, make some lunch while I'm sitting here in the rain. Heavy mist right now, but yeah, that's it. The kettle is on. Here, cooking with something like this is something I would never do in a tent. But here I can. It's crazy. It's awesome. On a rainy day. So while we're on the subject, this is a cheapo Lixada 750 mil stainless steel pot with handles, folding handles, and a bail handle on top. It's the BRS, I think, burner on a Primus canister. What I do is I just boil up the water in there, and then I put it in the stuff sack that it came with. And in the bottom of the stuff sack, I just put a piece of Reflectix so that I can, you know, hold it in my hand without burning my hand on the pot. Those handles on the pot, I find, are kind of worthless. Don't have much use for them. That's what we got. We'll use it. Okay, so I've had a chance to tweak this little tent some more. It's easily big enough for 2 people. The ground sheet I have there is from a 2-person tent, and it's only occupying half of the space. I've got my A-Light camp chair there on one side. Plenty of room. Nice and tight. This would work well if you pitch the back into the wind. It'll shed wind like crazy. Just a ton of space. Does take a fair bit of tweaking. You have to like tweaking. You have to be a tweaker. But man, oh man, it is so much fun just having a gas out here today with the tarp.